We generally call this group the Masters of Wisdom and the Lords of Compassion. And this group of perfected men have lived in the remote mountain and desert areas of the world for countless thousands of years, seldom contacting the world directly, but working through their disciples who are men and women in the world. People who are men and women, but who are some distance along that path of evolution which the Masters have already trodden. These are the great creators in the world, the Leonardo da Vinci's and the Abraham Lincolns and the major scientists and artists and poets and writers and so on in the world. Eventually, they become masters and take their place behind the scenes in the mountains and deserts. From our point of view, the interesting thing is that the masters have come to a point in their own evolution, quite separate from the human evolution, but a point in their evolution which requires them to return to the everyday world where once they lived as men and women in the world. It was thought it would maybe be 12 or 1300 years still to come before this could take place. But immediately after the end of the Second World War, in June 1945, the leader of that group, whose personal name is Maitreya, the Lord Maitreya, awaited by all Buddhists as Maitreya Buddha, the next Buddha, awaited by Christians as the Christ, awaited by Muslims as the Imam Mahdi, awaited by Hindus as Krishna or Kalki Avatar, awaited by Jews as the Messiah. These are all names for one and the same individual, the Lord Maitreya, head of our spiritual hierarchy of masters. In 1945, Maitreya announced his readiness to come with a large section of his group of masters into the world when humanity would take just the first few steps to put its house in order after the war. He said he would come when a measure of peace had been established in the world, when the principle of sharing was at least beginning to govern economic affairs, and when the quality we call goodwill was manifesting, leading to the establishment of right human relationships. When these things were taking place, Maitreya said he would come inevitably, without fail, at the earliest possible moment. It was hoped then it would be in about 5 years, around 1950. You know, people believe, Christians believe, that the day for the return of the Christ is written in stone somewhere. Most people just don't know where. Most Muslims believe that the coming of the Imam Mahdi is already known for centuries, but again, nobody knows when. Jews believe that the Messiah could come in any family at any time, but what time? Buddhists believe that the coming of the Buddha will take place for sure, but millions of years ahead from now. Hindus are arguing over the date in which Krishna will return, or Kalki Avatar. The point is, it could have been around 1950. Not a fixed date, but around that time. But Not all the nations had suffered in the war, and they had not suffered equally, and the powers quickly went back to the old ways, the old greedy, selfish, competitive, nationalistic ways of the past, of Pisces. And so Maitreya's coming was put back until eventually he announced, "I'm coming whether they are ready or not." For thousands of years, Maitreya had lived in the high Himalaya, about 6,000 meters up. And on the 8th of July 1977, Maitreya descended from his retreat and came down the mountain into the plains of Pakistan. He spent some days there, which gave him time to acclimatize a body which he had been creating for about 6-7 years before, which allows him to live at our level and at the same time bring in his consciousness as the world teacher, the post which he holds in the spiritual hierarchy of which he is the head. And on the 19th of July 1977, he entered what he calls his point of focus in the modern world, the Asian community of London, England. Maitreya was preceded by a vanguard of his group in 1975, who came into 5 major cities in the modern world. One into New York, one into London, one into Geneva, one into Darjeeling, and one into Tokyo. Later, 2 more came, one into Moscow and one into Rome. By now there are 14 masters plus Maitreya, the master of all the masters, living in the modern world.